Buenas tardes. I just came back from another lecture about national stereotypes, this time about the Spaniards. That's why I was dressed as conquistador, Spanish soldier of the Siglo de Oro, of the Golden Age, that is the 16th century Golden Age of Spanish Empire and Spanish state. The Golden Age was of course the 16th century, but Spain was considered the major power, or maybe the first power in Europe up until 1659, when the Pyrenean peace treaty was signed by the French and the Spanish rulers. And that's why in our history books, in our high schools and schools, we are interested in Spain up to this date, and after that mostly in France. Because I don't know why, but usually the program is concentrated on the dominant power. Okay. So as usual, my students were asked, because I asked them to put to say stereotypes they came and they were thinking of, and then we are putting those verbs and those words on a table with 3 columns. One column was with positive stereotypes, one was with ambiguous stereotypes, one was with positive ones. So okay, among the negative ones, mañana was mentioned. That is this phenomenon in Spanish culture. Then they postpone, they procrastinate things. They tend to look for others to make their work. It was also mentioned. It was like a subversion of this. Yes, to some extent it's understood because of the climate, because the climate is not encouraging to do much and so on, and also there's no real ethos of work, because the Spanish were thinking about themselves as the nation of warriors, of priests, of aristocrats, and a small nobleman called hidalgos. Those very numerous noblemen, layer of society, strata of society, and it was it was relatively big number of noblemen, just like in Poland in Renaissance and Baroque times. So the typical Spaniard that was usually imagined as a nobleman. So the nobleman qualities were also depicted as typically Spanish. For instance, in the Austrian and German late 17th century and early 18th century Völkertafeln, the tables about the national stereotypes, which were the first more or less scientific-ish approach to these topics, and that's why the Germans are the dominant power when it comes to imagology, when it comes to studies like that, what I'm now trying to lecture the student about, and the national stereotypes and where they are true or not, or maybe why they were formed and so on. So they were already in 17th century and 18th century depicting those nations, and Spaniards were usually depicted the most positive of all the nations, because they were associated with good noblemen's virtues, like courageous and honorable and so on and so on. Whereas the other nations, not so much. It depends on the nation. The Germans, of course, themselves have depicted pretty well themselves, Germans, but they have depicted the French and the Spaniards better than themselves, which is significant. Okay. Also, the Spanish have this tendency to be thieves, ladrones, and they are not very above board when it comes to various things, organization. They can, for instance, lose some money on purpose, and so on, and keep it to themselves, and so on. This is these stereotypes as organizers that are